Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Christopher Gillingham in Leamington in the UK. John Emmett also in the UK. Rob Sternstein in Boston is with us already. Ian Barker, we saw you sign on. Maura Stevens. A lot of people from all over the world. Joyce Shirell out in Hawaii. Welcome. Ralph Roberts down in New Zealand. Got a great show for you. Our special guest, Mark Dunphy, the head of Kiwi Home Defense, is here with us live via Skype from Auckland with an update on their campaign to keep AC-37 in the land of the long white cloud. My mother is signed on, my beloved mother from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Andrew Pindar. Hi, Andrew, in Sunbaked Scarborough in England. Ted Ryman down in Cape Town. David James from across the bay here. The other side of the bridge. Let's get this one on the road.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That's hard to miss.
Julia said that's hard to miss, and that's because I have a new sign in here up. You can't really see it behind. Maybe you can see it. It just when it turns on, it tells Julia the mics are on, and she says, well, that's hard to miss. It was on. Julia, you crouton. Hi, everybody. Welcome to show number 505. I'm your host, Tom Eman. With me, of course, is our co-host, Julia Vedekint, Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club. We are, as usual, live from the Beach Street Yacht Club, Studio B here. Again today, as usual, Don Lunabos is up in Sonoma. Mark Wharton-Reed is in Ada, Michigan. Clark Chapin also in Michigan. A lot of Michiganders here today, already liked and shared. Thank you, Clark. Julie, any hot tips before we get into the pre-show?
Not really.
We're really in the pre-show now, and I have a new slide, actually. You see that slide?
Yes.
It is a new slide that I'm calling the pre-start. Can you name the club? It's the race committee boat getting ready to start a race from a really cool club that's been around since, I think, 1887. On a lake in, anybody name it? Vermont. That is the Lake Champlain Yacht Club, Shelburne, Vermont, established 1887, their race committee boat, which will, at least for a while, be the emblematic of our pre-start portion of TFE Live. Welcome, everybody. As you know, we have gone on daylight time here in the past few days on Sunday here in the States, but nonetheless, other than those of you watching outside of the U.S., inside the U.S., I should say, we are now at 1300 Pacific Daylight Time. We will be for the next 7 months while we're on daylight time, 1600 Eastern Daylight Time, but we will remain, as promised, 2000 UTC year-round, and you can figure that out locally as you all go off and on daylight time, summertime, as you may call it, in your part of the world. Julia, this week, you know what yesterday, of course, was?
Indeed, Pi Day.
It's really quite a week. This usually we just celebrate whatever today is, but it's a bit of an auspicious week. International Pi Day was yesterday, the 14th of March, 3.14. And if you were a nerd like me, 3.14-159-265-358-979. And my geometry teacher didn't give me any extra credit when I did one of those pi r squared things out to, I don't know how many, 15 or 30 positions. But it is kind of a cool day, Pi Day, International Pi Day. And that from Mark, I think that came from Mark Husted. Yeah, it did. He's irrational, and he goes on and on. They're getting a little marriage counseling with the wife of Pi. You see the name of the counselor? Huge ripoff. I had to see that. Thank you, Mark Husted, for sending that along on Pi Day. Do you know what today is, Julia?
The Ides of March.
Ides of March.
A popular phrase, but what exactly does it mean? In Roman times, the term Ides was most likely referring to the day of the full moon, and was used to describe the 15th day of the months March, May, July, and October, and the 13th day in the other months. The Ides of March was also a festive day dedicated to the Roman god of war, Mars, and a military parade was usually held. On March 15, 44 BC, Julius Caesar was stabbed to death in the Roman Senate, an event dramatically recreated in Shakespeare's play Julius Caesar, where a seer foresaw Caesar's demise and told him, "Beware the Ides of March."
Beware the Ides of March. And I wonder if there's something auspicious that will happen today, maybe when we hear from Mark Dunphy
Yes.
with what's going on down in New Zealand. I still think, as you know, Julia, I think that the cup, look at that. That's a horrific looking slide.
It is.
I still think the next cup is going to be in Auckland in New Zealand.
Yes.
I don't know what tomorrow is, but I know Thursday is
St. Patty's Day.
St. Patty's Day. And I'm sure we'll be celebrating that appropriately somehow, somewhere, Julia.
Yes.
And on Friday, it is Julia's birthday.
Uh-oh.
What do you mean you forgot? Look at Mark. Mark he's smiling. He forgot her own birthday. You knew his birthday. We'll take you to the yacht club for a nice dinner. That's Friday. Happy birthday, Julia. We won't ask how old you are, but you tell us anyway. It's
800.
800.
Methuselah was 9.
And then do you know what Saturday is? Speaking of Valencia, Spain, and this is Las Fallas,
Oh, it is.
the end of this week-plus long rite of spring that's been going on for 1,000 years in Spain. Have a look at this really cool video. Having lived there for almost 10 years, and the first year it was kind of cool to have all the fireworks, the Mascleta in the town square outside City Hall. This thing they're showing you now, that's the La Crema, that is the big climax on the 19th on Saturday. But you go there once, you might go there twice, and then after that, you get the hell out of town like a lot of the locals do, because 1 million people descend, at least pre-COVID, and I hope again this year, on Valencia for Las Fallas. It's an amazing, at least to experience once or twice. Solidarity for our friends and in Ukraine and Russian sailors who have nothing to do with this, at least those that don't have anything to do with it, and the oligarchs, that's another issue. But we're all feeling really badly for what now, Julia? Did I see on the tube 3.5 million refugees approaching, something like that? It's obviously an ugly situation. We hope that you're taking Jyrki Järvi's suggestion. I know several clubs now are doing this around the world with displaying the first repeater, the general recall flag. Recall your troops, Mr. Putin. It's a suggestion by our Finnish foes, Jyrki Järvi. It's being displayed at his club in Finland. They're feeling the pressure a little bit, I hear and read this morning, in the Scandinavia, as are the Baltic countries, obviously. And I hope your country is displaying, or your club as well, is displaying it. Ask your club, why not? It's a good, I think, gesture on behalf of especially our Ukrainian friends. That was very interesting, Julia, when we had the president of the Ukrainian, I guess chairman now of the Ukrainian Sailing Federation.
Yes.
I've checked in with him. I don't know where he is, couldn't get through to him. But I'm going to look again to see if we get him back on the show.
He was very good.
For an update.
Yeah.
You know what this yacht is? David Richard Morris, by the way, saying, love the recall idea. Joyce Chiarella, I didn't forget Julia's birthday. But back to this yacht. There's another view of it. That is the sailing yacht A. That's the name of the boat, A. It is currently the largest sailing yacht in the world, belongs to the Russian oligarch Andrei Igorovich Melenchenko. The Russian sailing yacht A. Sailing Anarchy had this to say about that yacht yesterday. Likely the biggest abortion of a sailing yacht ever is the disgusting-looking pig of a boat, sailing yacht A, and it has been seized. The sailing yacht A embarrassment worth about 530 million euros attributable to Russian oligarch Andrei Igorovich Melenchenko was subjected to a freezing order by the financial police as part of the measures taken against Russian tycoons included in the blacklist of the European Union. That was in Trieste, I think. And yeah, there it is. According to what is learned, the boat was in storage in the port of Trieste in Italia. A is considered the largest sailing yacht in the world. She measures 142 meters in length. She was designed by Philippe Stark. I think Mr. Stark ought to stick to buildings and other things, but it was launched in 2015. And of course, you know that we featured Mr. Bezos's yacht, which is about to launch.
Right.
Where in the Netherlands?
Yes.
Which will be even larger than this abortion of a yacht, as Sailing Anarchy
But it can't get
called
out.
it. Well, it's under. I guess it's been. Somebody asked during the show the other day, and Julie Aarons is saying, bless the folks who confiscated it. All big yachts have been taken. Monica Diaz says, words from Tempest to the great David Richard Morse. I hate the made-up word Scandahuvia, Tom. Please stop using it. Who said that? My mother. She's Scandinavian. She's Scandinavian. She's Norwegian, which is why I'm Norwegian. But forget about all that. Morris Stevens is saying their Wayne and Schuster sketch entitled Rinse the Blood Off My Toga. If you want a good chuckle on the Ides of March, you can watch it on YouTube. Thanks, Maura. So it's been seized. Who is going to pay for the storage, fuel, etc.? Well, that's a good question, Joyce. And a lot of them booked for the Maldives, which the super yachts, oligarchs super yachts, which didn't have an extradition treaty, do not have an extradition treaty with the U.S. or the EU. But somebody asked, what happens to these things after they are, handcuffed to the dock? What if they're there for a while? Do the government sell them off? Julie, you might get a super yacht for your birthday on Friday.
Oh, good idea.
Maybe Joyce Chiarella will go find one for you, buy it for you.
Yeah. And the Fozy will support it, and we'll go on long cruises.
And then we'll go down and see Mark Dunphy and co. in New Zealand for the next cup, where I firmly believe and hope and believe the next cup will be held. So now I've got a new photo for our starting line. We now have the pre-start and the starting line photo, but it's a new one, and we're going to refer to these yachts later in the show. This is a photo by Felipe Huncadella, who is from Miami originally, here in the States, and those are those wing foils. Here at St. Francis Yacht Club, a big regatta last weekend. Mm-hmm. But let's get to John Emmett. We always like to run his video now at the top of the show. Our esteemed master mentor, John Emmett, and his report.
Welcome to show 505, the Ides of March. Today we have a very special guest, Mark Dunphy, head of Kiwi Home Defence, so get all your questions ready. Hi Tom, Julia and all the Fozy. I'm going to take you for a little walk around Southampton Common. In fact, I've just been to the pub to Cowherds in Southampton, so see if that affects my little blog at all. So this is my recovery day after the qualifier, and it was just so nice to be out racing. Although I'm not sure, but I think it might be my worst ever result. The irony is I've just been delivering 2 coaching weekends on starting, but this time I got 2 black flags at the weekend, one on the Saturday, one on the Sunday, so obviously I had to count one of them. So I guess there was about 70 boats. So yeah, when you're counting 4 top 5s and 2 70ths, that's not going to give you a good result. So naughty boy, much to the amusement I think of some of the parents and so on. But yeah, it was good to get out racing, and you know, by doing these events it highlights your strengths and weaknesses. And we were at Stokes Bay, which is Gosport near Portsmouth, so compared to Portland Harbour, lots of current and quite a lot of waves, and that was really what got the better of me, just being forced over the line slightly. And it means I need to do some more qualifiers because we actually count 4 of the 6 most recent events to do the national ranking and to determine who gets to go to events. So yeah, I need to keep racing, and we've got 2 more back to back. So maybe you're going to get fed up with footage of Hilkers, but that's what I have. And then we're off to sunny Palma. I mean, some people are there already, and I've just had a practice regatta, I think was won by Facilia in the Ilka 6, who's now sailing for Portugal, and Team GB's Mickey Beckett won the Ilka 7. So, you know, people started to get there early, and I'm very much looking forward to going there. In fact, my flights have changed, so I'm going there even earlier than intended. So I'm going to have a speedy pack after the last event in Weymouth and straight to the airport, which is something I try and avoid doing, just because if there's any sort of delay, it does make it a little bit more stressful. But it's a good reason to have a good last race. Having said that, I had a black flag in the last race of this weekend, and it did give me a very relaxed pack up, but not a very relaxing result. So yeah, there we go. I hope everyone else is enjoying getting back into racing and making the most of their sailing, and wishing you a really good rest of the show, and see you there.
Master Mentor John Emmett. And Julie, obviously this segment was not sponsored by Gillette. Could have been. I thought he said that when Lily's now home from China,
Yeah.
who must have been his camera lady, she did a great job on
Yes.
that segment, I thought. But you'd think that maybe they were having kids. I thought that's why he was doing this walkabout, and they were going to announce, hey, guess what? Here in the baby park, in the kids park in Southampton. But apparently that's not the case, eh, John? If so, give us some comments.
When he's ready.
Well, I'm not putting any pressure on anybody. Replying to Julie Aarons, especially if it's free. For the one that was seized while in the Lurzen yard, David James is saying the crew was 95. They were 95 people, not 95 years old. They are all fired and replaced with a caretaker crew of 5 on the Lurzen payroll, who's, of course, going to try to bill the oligarch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Stingray is saying that, 4 of top 5s, but he had those 2 black flags, so apparently he's not qualified. Of course, he's qualified. I'm not sure he said he's qualifying for the Laser Masters, which he continues to win, at least at whatever the category he sails in.
Yeah, he says he just has to do a few more races.
Well, they've got 4 regattas, I think,
Yeah.
where they use the last 4 regattas,
Yeah.
and that's the qualifier. 4 of the top 4 regattas, maybe. Julie Aarons, the traffic en route to the Maldives is heavy duty. Tom, did you read Magnus Wheatley today? I didn't see Magnus today. I saw Magnus yesterday. And talking about the venue, we'll talk with Mark Dunphy about that in a moment. Be careful what you wish for, David James is saying. Annual maintenance on A average 130 million euros, so getting her for free would not be a good deal. Graham Sweeney is saying in the First World War, the yacht Germania was seized by the UK and sold to a member of the New York Yacht Club. Did you know that?
Mm-mm.
I didn't either. Okay, let's get into the Cup. As I said, we've very pleased to have Mark Dunphy here with us, live via Skype from New Zealand. Mark is the founder and the head of Kiwi Home Defense. We've had him on the show once before. Delighted to have him here again today. Mark, live from Auckland. Welcome.
Thank you very much for having me, Tom. Julia, nice to see you too.
You know, Julia, did you notice that in the pre-show, he was much nicer to you than to me? Typical. Why is everybody so nice to you and so hard on me?
Because you're harder than everybody else.
I am not. I just try to get look at how perfectly. I just try to get Mark framed properly, nice lighting, good audio, and we do that, Mark, with all of our guests. But forget about all that folder. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Shall I just? You want to say anything by way of introduction before I hop into the slides?
Well, it's nice to be back, and we must reflect on the fact that it's but 2 weeks until the 31st of March, when the venue for this AC37 is to be announced, and obviously time is running out, and we're very concerned about the status of things, and that's why we've put this campaign together, really to make sure that everyone in New Zealand is aware of what's going on, and to get their support to keep the cup in New Zealand, stop it sailing away, and really to encourage now the parties, the New Zealand government, the Auckland Council, Team New Zealand, and the squadron to get around a table, because it's astounding that in the 6 months, really 8 months since 9 months since the cup was won, there have been no really substantive discussions, certainly none in the last 6 months, and that's a travesty, really, when you realise how important this cup is to New Zealand. So that's just by way of introduction.
Well, we could not agree more, as you know, and delighted to have you back on. And I've been very impressed with the campaign, the website. We've been running bits and pieces from it during every show for the last several weeks. The Kiwi Home Defence, it says on your website, is committed to supporting the America's Cup defenders, Team New Zealand, keep AC-37 on home waters on the mighty Waitemata, if I said that right. A recent poll revealed the vast majority of Kiwis want Team New Zealand to defend the America's Cup in New Zealand. Kiwi Home Defence was established by a group of proud New Zealanders and spearheaded by Mark Dunphy, a businessman of considerable repute. The goal of Kiwi Home Defence is to assist with and arrange financial support for Team New Zealand to create a viable and successful at-home defence of the America's Cup in 2024. And anything to add to that by way of summation of Kiwi Home Defence?
I think that's really got it in a nutshell. We're interested in solutions, not difficulties, and we understand that there's a broader dynamic at play here that involves obviously the America's Cup money, different possible venues around the world. But when you go back to it, why New Zealand first came into the America's Cup in 1984 was that Michael Fay, David Rishwright had a vision that we had in New Zealand, what it would take, what it took to win the cup. We had the ability as sportsmen and women, as athletes, as fantastic yachtsmen, and we had all the technological prowess to win this cup against the best of the competitors in the world, with all the money in the world. And the objective was not just to win it, but obviously to bring it back to New Zealand, because we could see the benefits that having the cup in New Zealand would bring for all New Zealanders. And that position hasn't changed. The only position that's changed is that there are some who are prepared to throw that objective to the wayside to possibly host the cup offshore, which we think is just plain wrong.
I note that Sir Michael Fay, is strongly supportive of this, has given a video to this superb campaign. I don't know what else to call it. It's just a superb campaign, video and comments. And, I did battle, as you know, with Sir Michael during the leading up to the 88 campaign, not really 87. He was down leading the first effort with Chris Dixon and co. in Australia, and then won it. Well, it didn't. We won it in San Diego, and then he challenged us in San Diego, and we ended up in a court battle over the big boat and the catamaran. But became friends, because we did sit down and talk, and Andrew Johns and the others that were involved, and Bruce Farr, who was, also on that side. And these are all proud Kiwis who go back to, as did you and others, to found that original Cup team. Were you working for Michael then, Sir Michael, or were you involved with that campaign?
No, I was a partner of Michael and David from 1984. So I wouldn't say I was party to every decision that was made, but certainly felt the financial pull involved in the three campaigns that we were principally behind, which of course was the first in Fremantle, and then the big boat, and then the red boat in San Diego. But after Sir Michael's efforts, and Michael really led those campaigns, of course, Peter Blake came onto the scene, and in the time, and he was very well supported, Sir Peter, by a number of people, Sir Douglas Mars, and his Lion Breweries, Steinlager, and so on, and the other sponsors who came around at that time. And when you stand back and look at the effort, and it'll be 40 years coming up when AC37 has sailed, there's been about $1.5 billion expended on various campaigns for the America's Cup, challenges in the early days, or the defences and challenges again. And the composition of that capital comes as to about $500 million from the New Zealand government and the Auckland Council, $500 million from the early supporters, including Sir Michael, David, and those of us who were with them, and Sir Douglas Mars, and the early sponsors. And of course, we had the Red Sox campaigns when New Zealand was down and out and needing money, and so everyone from the man in the street to the kids who were emptying out their penny jars contributed to the campaign. So 500 from that corner, and then the last 500, I think the current team, or the team led by Grant Dalton, lay claim to, and the sponsorship that they've raised. But so they're really only the current team is really only a third of the $1.5 billion that's been.
Exactly, and it's an incredible sum. And Larry Ellison has put a lot of his own personal money in, but I don't know any country, any club, any group of people anywhere on the planet that has come together to put that much money toward defending, challenging, successful defenses, losing, and going back after it. So bravo Zulu to you and the people in New Zealand. The mission here, it says on your website, we want New Zealand to be the home of AC37, full stop. We want Kiwis to be the hosts of AC37. Let's come together as a crew of 5 million and show the world we are the only America's Cup hosts for the 2024 and maybe the 2025 event. Let me push forward, Mark, and talk about using as one of our regular segments, this day in history, because something auspicious happened this day in history, America's Cup related, in 2021, 1 year ago. And Julie, I showed this to you, and I think to Mark as well, in the beginning of the show and the pre-show and the tech check. Do you know what happened on this day? What were we doing here? We were doing watching parties. We were doing watch parties. And the series going into today on the 15th was tied 3-3. It's, of course, the 16th down in New Zealand now, but it's 15th here and in Europe. And the series was tied 3-3. It was anybody's ball game. And we, the whole world was starting really to take notice, at least the sailing world, and it was pretty cool. And then on the 15th, there were 2 races, the first of which was won handily by the Kiwis, but as Sail World called it today, a tale of 2 jibs, not jibes, jibs, because they use different sized jibs, 2 touchdowns when they fell off their foils. Each team fell off their foils a couple times, and 2 points. And of course, the 2 points went to ETNZ. They won races 7 and 8 to go up on this day in Cup history, to go up 5-3 over Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli of Italy. Here for a reminder is that second race on the 15th, race 8, the flip-flop as I call it. Have a look.
Well, the start was really done well by Spithill. I thought this was going to actually be a bit of a draw, but they did a really nice job of having a nice angle into this starting line. It was kind of a pin end favored, and you heard Jimmy Spithill right after this start say, high mode Boyd, look at that. He closed the distance between the 2 boats really quickly and forced Emirates Team New Zealand to roll into attack immediately to what turned out to be the unfavored side of the course. So So there's 2 even boats. But next time the boats came together, there was a little bit of a lead for the Italians, and they stretched it out. I was about to say they sailed one of their very best legs. Another thing that we noticed right off the bat is they had a bigger jib up, and Shirley and Freddie kept saying, it's getting lighter out here, it's getting lighter out here. We thought that bigger jib was going to work to their advantage. But as it turns out, it didn't. It all went pear-shaped for the Italians at one stage. But here they look great. They stretched it out again on this run. This is a weird run where Nathan picked up. It looked like they had problems with their jib. And as soon as the closing happened between Emirates Team New Zealand, you see them jibe, and there's almost no pressure in their sails. There's got to be bad air from the 2 boats. They're jibing through their own breeze. They're jibing through the other boat's breeze. They fall off their foils. Honestly, we think it's game over. The Italians just sail away, Nathan. And, yep, goodbye, see ya. But it was not to be.
Exactly, it's this tacky, so the whitewash that comes off the back of the foil, then the hull touches down. Up until that moment, everyone in the world was thinking these guys are going to go on and win it. It just went from bad to worse. They fall off the foil, and then they're trying to get up. They're trying to use the width of the course. They go out of bounds, they get penalties. Meanwhile, Emirates Team New Zealand, they come sliding through at the top mark, slick sailing, foiling nicely, and they win. They win the race. They turn what was probably going to be a 1-all day into a 2-0 day, and man, momentum has shifted.
And man, the momentum has shifted. That was quite some day in a fantastic venue, a lot of people watching. And it was on the 15th there, as you can see in the top 2 lines. Kiwis won both races, even though Luna Rossa came from behind and was in the hunt there for a while. In fact, they were flip-flop in both races, but the Kiwis won both on the 15th that had been postponed from the 14th. And then Kiwis went on to win on the 16th and 17th to ice the series. They won races 9 and 10 and went ahead to win it, 7-3. Now, this is the final comment from Wikipedia about that series. Team New Zealand retained the America's Cup trophy that they had won in 2017, winning the best of 13 series by 7 races to 3. The Italian team won 3 of the first 5 races, but New Zealand won 5 straight to keep the title. This was their 4th victory following earlier wins in 95 and 2000. The turning point came in the 8th race, where New Zealand clawed back a 4-minute deficit to win and take the 5-3 lead in that video you just saw, just as their opponents looked to be drawing level in the series. Now here's my favorite comment of this whole article on Wikipedia. The Prime Minister of New Zealand, Jacinda Ardern, commented that, quote, Team New Zealand has once again made us all so proud by retaining the America's Cup. We want to see it all over again in 2023. And of course, we know that's now slipped to 2024. And Mark, maybe it's going to slip to 2025.
Well, that's possible, I guess, isn't it? But yeah, what a day! What a day that was. The races. Those 2 races on the 15th. We all thought we were dead in the water for the. And we would have drawn even at 4-all, and to be 5-3 at the end of that day with two races to win. That was just an unbelievable day of America's Cup racing, wasn't it?
Sure was.
And I think the Prime Minister really speaks for New Zealand wholesomely when she speaks in those terms, because we all want the Cup here in 2024, and we feel like we've bled for this team. We've supported them through thick and thin, and of course there have been the glory days, the heydays when we've won, and the Sir Peter Blake led Cup victories in San Diego and Auckland in 2000, and but there have been times when this team has been down on its knees, and we've bled for them and we've supported them, and New Zealanders now are saying, look, we've been doing it tough here. We've had 2 years of COVID, and you know, downtown Auckland, Tom, is not what it used to be when you were last here. The streets are deserted. The shopkeepers are having the greatest of difficulties managing to open their doors. Most of the restaurateurs can't open. The little coffee bar across the road from me closed the other day. The people from Korea who run that just can't keep it going anymore. And so New Zealand badly needs events, and in between now and 2025, we've got nothing like the America's Cup. And the Kiwis are saying, look, we've supported you guys, we've supported the squadron and Team New Zealand through thick and thin and through your difficult days. This is the time when it's your obligation to give it back to us.
Well, you started this campaign, what, a month or so ago? It's been
a month or so ago, yeah. Just really focused on the last month of the, you know, the lead into the 31 March. Of course, this is the third so-called announcement date, venue announcement date. First, it was to be the 17th of September, then it was to be the 17th of November, and now it's to be the 31 March. Although what's changed since 17th of November, we had the protocol released in November, and that requires a venue announcement by the 31st of March. And I guess that means that if the defenders don't come with a date on or before the 31 March, then the challengers will be asking questions in a much more formal way about venue.
Well, I think you'll see if they don't have a venue, Ineos, and that's really the interesting question from my standpoint. I've been asking on this show for a long time. Ineos and they can amend the protocol. The Kiwis and the Brits can amend the protocol as between the two of them, and may well do it to give themselves more time. Because I don't see how they're going to have a venue to announce in 2 weeks' time. Let's go back to the campaign before we talk in the specifics, because I think this campaign has been an eye-opener for me, and you've been posting these reasons, some of which your ad agency, your PR firm presumably wrote, but now you've got a whole bunch from Kiwis, from just run-of-the-mill folks in the country. The whole country there on the right, reason 78, the whole country has backed and supported every defense and challenged Team New Zealand as race. Shouldn't Team New Zealand back and support this country? After being in Auckland for the most recent Cup races, I can say the festive atmosphere was incredible and the races so exciting. But if the team abandons New Zealand to hold the Cup elsewhere, New Zealanders will probably lose interest. Reason 87, the blue on the left. Whoever won the last Cup should host the event in their country of origin. You won it. Why give the others the rewards of your hard winnings? Which is an interesting point. Julie, we've discussed that, because if you don't, the one thing about the Cup is that if you win it, you get to take it home to your club in your country and run it. And that's always been, okay, the only 2007, everybody agreed that the Alinghi and the Swiss weren't going to run it in a Swiss lake up in the Alps, so they went down to the Mediterranean. Made perfect sense. Did not make sense to run for Golden Gate Yacht Club to run it in Bermuda. It made no sense at all. And of course, we promptly lost it. As Mark, I think as soon as the Kiwis take it offshore, and I don't think it's going offshore, but if they do, I think they dramatically reduce their chances of defending. What saith you?
Well, that's the view of the parties who are responding to this campaign. The view is we have our best chance of winning the Cup, retaining the Cup on our home waters, and those views are expressed not just by the yachting community, but also by all of our sportsmen. I mean, New Zealand's a proud and incredibly successful nation of sports people, and from all codes, people are saying our chances of winning the America's Cup are much better in New Zealand. Why would one ever give up that home advantage? And going back, Tom, to that video piece that you showed. Race, I suppose it was effectively race 7 and race 8.
Right, it was,
in 5-3. you could argue that one could argue that New Zealand won that day. Certainly the 8th race because of the home advantage that our sailors had over the opposition. Perhaps we had a better perspective of the airs out there, but anyway, that's the point that's being made in response to the campaign.
Well, there's a whole bunch more. I mean, I'm only going to run 6 of them here, but I've run them on each of our last, I don't know, 4 or 5 shows. You're almost to 100 of these comments, and with names. These are not made up by your PR firm. Reason 96 there on the right. The Cup defense must stay in New Zealand and inspire all future children to pursue sailing as a sport. In the middle, what better way to help stimulate our people and our economy than with a worldwide sporting event that we punch well above our weight in time and time again? Then on the left, what better way to showcase Auckland to the rest of the world? The sparkling waters of the Waitemata, with Rangitoto in the background and all the amazing vantage points from which to view the Cup. And it is also to follow on, Mark, with what you said a moment ago. It seems to me, and I said this on the interview I did with TVNZ yesterday, it is in your country's culture. You are looked upon as a hugely successful sporting country, in particularly, punching way above your weight, particularly in the sports of rugby and sailing. And for this now to go offshore, and people saying that Kiwis are racing this event over in, God forbid, Saudi Arabia or Spain or Cork, Ireland, or tell me where, it's going to make no sense to anybody.
It's never made much sense.
And you're losing a huge opportunity, and all these reasons are terrific.
I'm interested of the people at the table when everybody finally said, "This is ridiculous. We're just gonna go full head aboard and have the defense at home."
You mean, why aren't people back around the table?
Well, no, I didn't. Why they did it in the first place? I mean, everybody was thinking it.
Well, that's
that's
a real good question. That's why I put this day in history. What happened? I mean, I know what happened, Mark. You know what happened. They had already started on negotiating with offshore venues. We broke on this show. Somebody sent me the bid document. I put it out here on this show. Say, hey, look at this. They're already circulating this bid document offshore. They're supposed to give 3 months, 90 days first right of negotiation to New Zealand before they go off soliciting other venues. That didn't happen. They were already hard at work with the British agency trying to recruit other countries. And they thought that as Ernesto Bertarelli did back in 75, 74, 70, or 80, 90, 2000, 2004, 5, that he would have, they had fully 60 cities bid to host the 07 Cup. And it came down to Portugal, it came down to Lisbon and Valencia. He Mr. Ernesto Bertarelli, bid them both up and ended up with a huge chunk of money for himself, for the teams, for his own team, for the event. This is a different world. And it's a different world. And there's no way they're going to have these cities bidding against each other, and I don't see how they're going to have a deal come the end of this month, do you?
Well, it doesn't feel like it. You'd imagine that if you had a deal coming, you'd know about it a month, at least a month before. You've got, you'd expect to have your host city in the chute,
exactly
as I describe it. A good 30 days before you'd have, because it's going to take some time to paper things up, and for any of these commitments, they're not worth anything until all signed and sealed. So, but it's just going back to the comments on the site, and as you say, we got things going. We sought contributions from various leading personalities, Sir Michael Fay, Sir John Key, former Prime Minister, and others who we knew were supportive of holding the Cup here. But one of the questions that you just brought up, I think it's the first one that you referred to, was about the importance to the sport to encourage the young to join the sport, become sailors, and encourage our athletes to become sailors. And unlike Alingi and unlike Luna Rosa, and I think really unlike Ineos, Team New Zealand is a different entity. It's owned by a trust, a charitable trust, which was formed with all of the benefits to go to sailing in New Zealand. And so much as Team New Zealand and the squadron might like to think that they are operating in the same way as Alingi and the others, they're not. They don't have. They really don't have that imprimatur, and they need to respect their constitution. And I'm not flagging that there would be trouble in this corner, but get a grip, guys. This is don't sell us all down the river. That's sort of, and we see that coming across in the commentary on the site, and in response to the campaign. You owe us big time, actually, and we're calling to collect. And I think if I was arguing the position of the Auckland Council, I don't think there's any doubt that the massive amount that they contributed to the AC36 campaign and hundreds of millions of dollars actually of expenditure getting the facilities in shape was based on the next two events being held in Auckland. And I would be very surprised if someone didn't get very upset quite soon if there's an announcement that the Cup would be held in Jeddah or, gosh, God knows where.
Well, and that, again, a point I made yesterday to TVNZ, if it does go offshore, if the venue leaves New Zealand now, and people think it's going to come back in 2028 or 2029, it won't, because they will do a deal with somebody, and the first clause in that deal is, if we host it for you here in 2024, if it slips to 2025, we get the first right of refusal on the next one, because we're going to put money in, we're going to put facilities, we're going to build up the infrastructure and the knowledge. We want the next one after that. So this is not just, we'll go offshore this one time, try to raise some money, and then we'll bring it back next time. Now the cat will be out of the bag, and this will be.
Like Kiwis are saying, if it goes now, it's gone for good.
Yeah.
It's for precisely that reason, Tom. If we can't afford to host the America's Cup when we hold it, we can't afford. We'll never have it back because if it's successfully defended offshore, as you say, the host venue will want rights to rehost it, and if we lose it offshore. Why would anybody want to support another challenge when it won't be defended here?
Exactly.
And this is a real, dividing line for New Zealand and the America's Cup. And you mentioned earlier about you breaking the news of New Zealand out soliciting venues. Well before we succeeded in retaining the Cup in March of last year. I think the Team New Zealand people that had been out with, as you say, their English agency, spruiking venues probably for 9 months before that. And I think that that initiative had its genesis in the troubles that Team New Zealand was having with the hosts, because you might recall that the host, the New Zealand government, and the Auckland Council became troubled about how the money that they had committed to the event, how those monies were being expended, and that led to essentially an investigation and audit by a group of very experienced professionals who had been with one of our regulatory agencies.
Well, yeah, your serious fraud office got involved in all that, and I would.
Well, yeah,
and
I don't know, sorry, Tom. I don't know the extent to which that agency was involved, but one is clear. I think that that is probably the genesis of the need to find another venue. That Team New Zealand said we're not going to put up with government agents.
Yeah, with people looking over our shoulders and looking into our books. Exactly right. And I was asked that again yesterday by TVNZ, and I said, well, look, you have to ask Mr. Dalton that. And I also said, maybe he not only thinks he's going to get more money from people, but maybe he's made promises to sponsors that, yeah, we'll run the next one offshore if you'll sponsor us last time and help us next time. Maybe he owes money to people, and they need to run it offshore as part of the quid pro quo. I don't know. I don't care. I just know it's wrong to run it someplace, and it's time for the squadron, because this is not Mr. Dalton's cup. This is the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squadron's cup. They're the trustee. They need to grow a pair and say, it's going to be here. We're going to figure out how to do this for the sake of everybody involved. We'll do it here. Thank you, Mr. Dunphy. You offered to raise us some money, and let's do that. Let me get in, play a couple more videos, and then I want to talk about the money, because there's a lot of questions about public money and oversight and how much you can raise privately and so on. Shall we do that?
Sure.
Let me play this next video. This is the latest one I saw on your website this morning. It's very good, from one of your top former sports people in the country.
Talofa Aotearoa. Here we are, a small nation at the bottom of the South Pacific, a team of 5 million. Certainly, I think plenty of opportunities over history where we've been the underdogs, not afraid to fight with the big boys, and more importantly, always showing that we can punch above our weight. We get another opportunity defending the America's Cup here in our backyard. Now, I know very little about sailing, but I do know about home advantage. This time, it's a huge advantage. No matter how small, how big the home advantage, this one is gold. Anyone out there who's got game, who wants to play with us in our backyard, bring it to us. Bring it to New Zealand. Defend the cup in our backyard.
I don't know who Mr. Rapati is, but he should be one of your primary spokespeople, in my opinion. He was terrific, but here was my favorite. And I've run this on each of the last 2 or 3 shows. I'm going to run it again.
It is essential that we have a home defence for the America's Cup, or that famous line, the America's Cup is now New Zealand's Cup, will be changed to the America's Cup is now Grant Dalton's Cup. The winning of the America's Cup and the Rugby World Cup are the 2 sporting events that galvanised our country more than anything else. For us to get back the passion, the pride, and the joy of the event, it is essential that we have it here at home. It all started with Red Sox, and then taxpayers' money and ratepayers' money made it our cup. For it to be our cup, it needs to be done in our water, or it is no longer our team.
I just think Murray Beaker was just brilliant. Brilliant.
Yeah.
What do you think, Julia?
Oh, I've always thought that.
So we'll keep running that. Let's talk about the money, because as I always have said, and Bill Koch and I, when going back to the 92 Cup, when I was running a cup in San Diego, and Bill said, oh, I'm going to come help you run and defend it. I said, Bill, talk is cheap. Are you really going to do that? And now every time I see him, and of course he won the cup, and he said, Tom, talk is cheap, right? And of course he's a billionaire. He's plenty of money. What have you done? What kind of money have you raised? What do you think needs to be done so that the financial side of this thing, between Wellington, Auckland, the private sources, and the sponsorships for the team and the squadron, can make this viable?
Well, the first thing really has to be for the hosts and Team New Zealand and the squadron to get their act together, because there was a 3-month negotiating window following the team retaining the cup on the 17th of March, which ended on the 17th of June, and the terms of those arrangements are I think, reasonably well understood. Team New Zealand promptly made its position clear that what had been proposed was $80 million short. But it's difficult, really, when you have a good look at the numbers to come to that conclusion. But if Team New Zealand really does hold that view, and there are good reasons for it, then it needs to make that position clear, because as I read the New Zealand government's position, it's not closed to the idea of contributing more capital, but obviously for that to occur, two or three things need to happen. First, there need to be discussions. Never going to happen unless the people get around the table, and really the initial group has to be that group of the hosts and the defenders, and if they don't get around the table, nothing's going to happen. And because there will be some give and take in that process, and then the issue will be what more is required. But in getting around the table, the parties have got to develop a level of trust again, because what happened clearly with the audit and investigation that we were talking about is that those parties lost trust with each other, and that trust needs to be rebuilt, and how that's to occur is something really for the parties first and foremost. But I don't think one needs to be Einstein to see that different personalities need to be involved. And I mean, if Team New Zealand was a private company operating under a normal governance arrangement, the chairman of the company would have said to the management, sort it out, and if whoever's handling the negotiations,
exactly,
the Crown is not getting on with them, then put someone else on the job. And the incredible thing about I think Team New Zealand, more than the squadron, they've got some very impressive people who, just about anyone in New Zealand would love to deal with. So, it just seems bizarre that they haven't sort of faced up to that. But it's worse than that, isn't it? Because actually, as I said earlier, since the 17th of June, when that 3-month period ended, practically there's been no dialogue, and there might have been a reaching out in the last couple of weeks, but nothing substantial. And I think you've got to say that the fault for that falls on both sides, because this event's very important to New Zealand, and it takes two to tango, and so the government and the Auckland Council shouldn't be sitting back waiting for the phone to ring, and nor should the squadron and Team New Zealand. And I mean, you mentioned earlier, Tom, that the squadron needed to grow up here, and we've been mightily concerned that the squadron has been so underrepresenting New Zealand actually in this, and the Commodore really, has been doing nothing more than the Commodore and the organisation, the club, has been doing nothing more than parroting Team New Zealand. And some of the things that have been said have been, absolutely outlandish. At one point to support the idea of the cup going offshore, it was said that the reason New Zealand lost the campaign in 2003 was because there wasn't enough money around. And I mean, that is just it's just false. It's a lie. and the press of the time makes that absolutely clear. And then following on from that, there was discussion about the loss in San Francisco. And at one point, the team blamed, in fact, Jim Farmer, curiously enough, for having been involved in changes in the wind speed limits. And that was the cause of the loss in San Francisco when we went from 8.1 to 9.8. And I think everyone in New Zealand knows the reason that we lost in San Francisco, or the reasons that we lost. We clearly were in a position to execute the final measure. The final should have won that race had it not been delayed, which gave the Americans the chance that they needed to get on and improve their boat and so on. But so to be coming out with tripe, it's very difficult to trust people, and if they don't tell it straight. And so Team New Zealand has this issue that it needs to get on top of, and the squadron really should make sure that everything that it says is right. And the squadron, the Commodore in particular, needs to do some study or something.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have a feeling that opportunity is coming because, first of all, these Spanish venues are not going to be in a position to sign on the dotted line anytime soon. The bureaucracy, having lived there, having dealt with the Cup, it's just not going to happen. Whether it's Malaga, whether it's Valencia, whether it's Barcelona, it's not going to happen anytime soon. Cork, we all know, they can't come up with it. They've been saying, give us more time. God forbid they go to Jeddah, but apparently that's the deal that I hear, one hears, that they have in hand, and they keep saying, well, if you don't want to do it here, we're going to go to Jeddah. And I don't think it's going to end up in Jeddah, because I think your judge, your retired Supreme Court judge, and Mr. Jim Farmer, who's been on the show, are going to stop that and stop it cold in court. Therefore, Commodore, ladies and gentlemen, seems like a perfect opportunity now for Mr. Dalton to say, hey, you know what? The world situation has changed. We got a war, possibly World War III in Europe, brewing. It's not brewing, it's broken out, whether it's World War III or not, God forbid. Got a bad situation. No one knew that COVID would last this long. No one knew that the world economy would take it at such a big hit because of this war and because of inflation in the States now and elsewhere. You know what? It's time to go back to the safest country in the world. We got to sit down, meet around the table, bring Mr. Denora in, who I think is key. The yacht club has got to lead the way. It's their cup. They've got to sit down with you, with Jim Farmer, with the others. You've got some other financial backers, one here's, who are willing and ready and able to make a substantial contribution, and bring it back to New Zealand, delay it for a year if we have to. The other teams are not going to be happy about that because of the burn rate, but I'm pretty sure they're going to be happy about having it in Auckland. So to me, it doesn't seem like, it seems like the perfect opportunity for Grant to come to his senses and say, and the club to force him to come to his senses, in my never so humble opinion.
And absolutely unknown.
And by the way, we offer up Julia.
Yes.
We offer up Julia to come be the moderator, the mediator. She is perfect as a former headhunter and senior serious business person herself. And she and Commodore of the Beach Street Yacht Club will come help make peace, right?
Solve the problem, right.
Seriously, let's go look at a couple more slides. And we've kept you already an hour, and I told you we wouldn't keep any longer than that. But if you can, Mark, let's have a look at a couple more of these slides. This is our segment with the horrible music that we dedicate to Jody Baby Shark Shields up in Australia. We call Correct or Crutonic. And this is, again, venue related. Do you know where this video was taken today? That is, looks like the Sahara Desert. It looks like God knows where. Windy, sand blown. That, is it correct or crutonic that is the Sahara Desert today? Julia, what do you think? You know, I told you in the.
I know. Right,
Mark, I told you as well, and that is, you know where that is? Well, here I'll show you another picture. That's Malaga today. thanks to our Fozy Monica Diaz, who sent that picture and that preceding video. And this happens, again, having lived in Spain. That doesn't happen often, but it does sometimes happen. These sandstorms come across from the Sahara. Yeah, Paul Homchick is saying it looks like Mars. Rob Schernstein says, yeah, it looks like Jeddah. Graham Sweeney says, yeah, it's Crutonic. It is horrible. And that's Malaga today, thanks to our Fozy Monica Diaz, who's probably on here. She almost always is. And, okay, this is not the main problem with Spain. I mean, the main problem with Spain is that they're not going to get the money together. They've got huge problems coming out of COVID. Hopefully we're coming out of COVID.
No infrastructure.
They don't have infrastructure except in Valencia. Valencia's mayor and town council don't want it. So, excuse me, it's not going to happen. And you got a war on in Europe. People aren't going to want to go to Europe until we know what's going on. God forbid it happens. I don't think it's going to happen, but they're saber rattling nuclear tactical nukes today. And this is not me talking BS. This is the Secretary General of the UN this morning saying, you know what? So go back to New Zealand, have a sit around the table. Mark, you've done a marvelous job to get this campaign up and running. The Kiwis are certainly clearly behind it. You got to find the money. I think you have gone a long way toward finding the money.
Absolutely.
Bravo Zulu to you. And I think the squadron, sooner or later, the squadron's going to step up and do just as you suggest, Mark. We're going to sit around the table, and if we need to send Julia down there.
Yeah, no, but obviously everybody really wants the same thing to happen. And I guess it's under whose umbrella?
Well, the squadron. It's the squadron's umbrella. They got to do it, right, Mark?
Yeah, well, we hope everyone really wants the
cup.
Auckland as a venue. We hope that the anywhere but Auckland is not the way some people are thinking about it. But the great news, Julia, is that, and we'd love to have you down here assisting.
Oh, I'm available.
And it'd be great if Tom
she's expensive though.
But the great news is that New Zealand is open again. So
yes,
we've been closed for 2 years through the pandemic, and of course they were. Team New Zealand and the squadron did a fantastic job executing the 36th Cup in the middle of a pandemic, and that was a great sensational result, really. But that's all behind us because we're open again. In a month's time, Australians can come here with no isolation, and after that, everyone from the rest of the world. So, to the extent there was a concern that we would be shut with COVID forever. That's something we can put behind us, and it's an objection that is not sustainable anymore.
Exactly.
Going back though to the question of venue and Jeddah and so on, I think absolutely the worst possible thing for the Cup is for it to end up in court. We've got fantastic sailboats, the AC-75s, and none of us can wait to see them on the water again. And obviously challengers who are keen to win the Cup, so we've got a great contest ahead of us, and we should celebrate the Cup in the way that it's supposed to be celebrated. If the Cup were to go to Jeddah, as you say, there's certain to be opposition in New Zealand. Whether that will be formalised in a courtroom and how long it will take for that to occur, one wouldn't be sure. But when leading practitioners and former jurists say they will take issue with it, they will take issue with it, and one should be aware. I think the Cup, the protocol is an instrument under New Zealand law, which means the New Zealand courts have a say, and the challengers should be aware that the New Zealand court system has got a bit bogged down with COVID, and it's not like one can go to court and have things resolved in 2 minutes. I'd be surprised if this matter headed to the New Zealand courts, if it was resolved, if there would be a hearing inside 18 months. And so everyone should be mindful of that. And I'm just contemplating that, there will need to be discussions, at least between the challenger of record and the defender, about venue and timing of announcement, and I would urge, if there is to be delay, that the challenger of record and the challengers together resolve, if they're going to agree to delay, whatever cost there might be in that for them, that they require that the venue be in Auckland. So they say, well, if you want delay, we'll agree to it, but only if it's agreed now that the venue be Auckland in 2025.
I still worry about the burn rate of people and costs and
The other teams.
time.
Well, all the
for-
teams.
Of everybody.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it is, and again,
And if you count the burn rate, you could, finance the the cup in a minute.
and the only place you're going to do it is quickly
Yeah.
is 2024 is Auckland at this point. I don't see any way they're going to do it sooner than that in any other venue in the world. And I go back to this slide. This was last weekend. They looked like Saudi Arabia. It's not a big country, and beheading, not just executing, beheading 81 people in a single day last weekend. I guess it was last week. And I cannot imagine that it's going there. I've talked to Jim Farmer. I've not talked to your Sir Ted. What's his last name? The judge.
Thomas?
Ted Thomas. Thomas Edmondson. I can't remember.
Sir Ted Thomas, yes.
Ted Thomas. I can't believe that anyone's going to stand for it going to Jeddah, including the teams, including some of the sailors on Team New Zealand with whom I've spoken. And that's apparently the only deal they've got, and they're not going to get another deal in 2 weeks' time. So everybody ought to let calmer heads prevail. Go back to, we said it. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself. So only Auckland has the facility standing there. Stingray has said. Do you think, David James is asking us a bit of a harsh question, David, do you think the Saudis would dismember a yachting journalist and send him back to Riyadh in a box? I mean, it's just, this is an ugly situation. It's not a pretty country. It's not going to be a pretty country. It'll be interesting to see what F1 does, and I'm going to get off that topic and let Mark go because he stayed kindly another few minutes more than we said. Mark, anything to say in wrap up?
Well, let's keep the cup in New Zealand, and let's stop it sailing away, and let's ensure that all of the New Zealanders who have contributed so much to this team get their just deserts of a fantastic AC-37 match celebrated on our wonderful harbour here in Auckland, where we can showcase all of the best of New Zealand, our sporting prowess, technological prowess, the natural beauty of the place, and let's have a proper party and do it proud.
Well said. Mark Dunphy, head of the Kiwi Home Defense, live via Skype from Auckland. We appreciate very, very much your coming on.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Again, for the second time, we're going to have to start calling you a Fozy, if that's not an insult to your intellect. And
Do you know what a Fozy is?
I do actually.
Okay.
I'm very, very proud to be a Fozy.
Okay.
We appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
Take good care.
Okay.
Raise some more money.
Thanks
Get
to
that
both.
meeting.
We're after it.
I people who've criticized us for not having anyone on here from ETNZ, RNZ, the invitation is open. We're welcome to have Grant or Matteo Donora or the Commodore or Vice Commodore even of the Royal New Zealand Yacht Squad, anybody who wants to come along. And thank you, sir, again for coming on and updating us.
My pleasure. Okay.
Okay.
See you again.
All the best.
Thanks. Bye.
Julia, there's just no way that's going to go off.
And I just don't.
Huh?
I don't see how they can
I don't
keep
either.
doing that.
Now, we've not been reading the comments here because there's so many comments. And Stingray saying, thank you so much, Mark, for being a guest. Julie Ahrens, who's a strong supporter of Grant Dalton, said, could you all forget about Jeddah once and for all? It is a done deal, no Jeddah. Not sure why she knows that. I think Grant Dalton is maybe telling her or her husband that. With a World War scare on now, it is probably not happening until 2025. You are so wrong to keep bringing this up, Jeddah. Well, what other deal, Julie Ahrens or anyone else is done? What are the Spanish deals? Excuse me. Do you know how long it takes to put together? I've been involved in this since 1980 on a small basis, on a big basis, and it takes a long time to put together a deal like this, which involves the central government of a country, the regional government of a country, the host city, the teams involved, yada, yada. It isn't going to get put together in the remaining time, at least nothing that is really substantial, in my never so humble opinion. Go back and do a negotiation, have a proper meeting around the table in Auckland.
Read the comments, please.
And always go back and read the comments, as Julie says. Good thing such a well-spoken and circumspect gentleman is working hard to keep the cup in Auckland, Chris Exley is saying. Morris Stevens, thank you, Mark. Perhaps if there was some way to get the money from the sale of Ugly A to run the cup, I bet there would be a Hungarian TV oligarchs that would be willing to help. Jonathan Frank
that's a
says.
good idea.
Cheers to Mark Dunphy. Rick Hayes is saying, if not Jeddah, RNZYS should announce this now if this call has been made. Yeah, they should, Hamish. I think you're absolutely right. Hamish, did I play? Yeah, I showed that comment, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
I think that's a proper comment. They should announce that. And to Julie Aarons, why haven't the RNZ just said, okay, forget about Jeddah. You don't have to worry about that. It's down to this, this, and that in the remaining 2 weeks. I don't think that's going to happen. Let's get on to other news, happier news, non-cup news, which will make our good friend John Emmett happy because he just loves this venue. He loves this venue discussion, Julia.
Yes.
And I have 3 really good news stories by way of Bravo Zulu for you today. The first of which is my mother's favorite regatta, one of my favorite events. I've never sailed one of these things. I'd sure love to. But this is Andu, and they've won the JJ. They've won the 100th 18-footer championship in Australia this past weekend. Bravo Zulu to them. The Andu team of Sev Jarvan, Matt Stenta, and Sam Newton officially became the 2022 JJ Giltinan 18-foot skiff champion, although it was they were in an unbeatable position before going into Sunday's final race of the championship on Sydney Harbor. Andu's victory gave Sev Jarvan his 9th win, 8 as a skipper in the world's most valued 18-foot skiff championship, and Sam Newman his 7th. For sheet hand Matt Stenta, and I'm not 100% sure, but I think he's in the middle here, who joined the team this season. It was his first in the 18s after winning the Australian 16-foot championship 2 years ago. And I believe that's Sev on the right and Sam on the left, I'm pretty sure. Somebody correct me in the comments if I am wrong.
Yeah.
Tech 2 was second. They had a good series, and we've been following Tech 2 as well. Jack McCartney, Charlie Wyatt, Lewis Brake, Bravo Zulu to them as well. And then my favorite team, I say without any embarrassment, because their Fozy, at least their skipper, is the 3rd place in their first year, their rookie year. Rag and Famish Hotel. Fozy, Harry Price on the helm with Josh McKnight and Harry Hall finished 3rd in a close battle for 3rd place. It went right down to the wire on Sunday. Smeg, which was one of the pre-series favorites, ended up finishing, I believe, 6th. But I just love this picture. Go to the 18-footer website. There are long videos. There are fabulous photos.
They're so much fun to watch.
And of course, it's 100 years old.
Yeah.
It's not as old as we are, but it's
almost.
It's old. It's fabulous stuff.
Yeah.
Here's the final standings. Andu, Tech 2, Rag and Famish, Noak Sailing, Lazarus, Capital Partners, and Smeg, and then down the rest
Black Swan
of the list, and Bravo Zulu again to Andu. Now guess who I guess is their coach. You know who that is on the left, Julia? That's the big fella. That's Ian Murray.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, isn't that nice?
Uh-huh.
I want to go back to that photo because I'm being fixed here by Andrew Pindar says Sev with the beard. Okay, so Sev is on the right. Sam the other side of the new crew. Okay, so that's Sam Newton. And then in the middle, that must be. Is that right, Andrew Pindar? In the middle is the skipper. Okay, great.
Okay.
Oh, no, Sev is the skipper. Okay,
Right.
we had it right. I'm confused here. I'm trying to do too much at one. But Bravo Zulu to them. Terrific stuff. What do you think, Julia?
I love him. I love to watch him.
I think we should go down there
Yes.
and watch that up close and personal. Especially, I love that shot.
Yeah.
Now
I have, because
oh, you have been there for this?
yeah.
Oh, you have. Well, you spent a lot of time in Oz with your great
Yes.
husband. And my mother can the hiking frames are fixed. They've got them angled just right, and there's a really good idea how it works, Mom. And she keeps asking. I would guess the helm is the one holding the tiller extension. John Evans says.
Uh-huh.
It's a development class, and Ian loves to tinker. Yes, that is true. And he is the coach, I guess. I saw him on a chase boat with the team in one of the photos, so I guess he is the coach. And I'm not sure who the team owner is or sponsor, but great stuff all around. Joey Newton is Sam's brother. Yes, talk about a successful sailing family, Steve Groover is saying. Bravo Zulu to Andu on winning the 100th JJ, the 100th, actually the skiff championship, which I think became the JJ after that. We told you we'd give you some of the flavor of the Bacardi Cup in Miami, which wrapped up on Sunday, and it's now not just the star class, but 3 or 4 other classes. Have a look.
Welcome to the 5th day of the Bacardi Cup Invitational Regatta. The 4 racing areas in Biscayne Bay provided once again some ideal conditions for all 6 classes.
Oh, it's fantastic to be back here in Miami sailing in Biscayne Bay. I've done so much sailing here throughout my Olympic campaigns. It's always a fantastic place to be this time of year, especially when it's so cold in Europe. The racing here is amazing. There's a lot of boats out there and the racing's super tight. We had a bit of an up and down first day, and the standard of the fleet is obviously very good, and we're really looking forward to getting out there again and going racing today. I think the key to performing well, like in any big fleet, you have to have a good start and you have to be pretty fast. So we'll keep working on the starts and the speed, and hopefully we do a bit better today.
With just one more race remaining for the historic Starfleet in the 95th Bacardi Cup, today it was the turn of Jorgen Schoenherr and Marcus Coy to taste victory. In the J70 fleet, Eat Sleep J Repeat took the lead, while in the Melters 24 class, Mavi moved into top spot after an outstanding day. In the Vipers 640 class, Caterpillar increased their gap on the top spot after yesterday's performance, and in the VX1 fleet, Tute Ben also defended their advantage. In the 69er F's fleet, Clean Sailors Youth Racing Team were on top. The current results promise a phenomenal finale to the Bacardi Cup Invitational Regatta.
We had some really good competition. We had some back and forth racing on all of the races, even and particularly the leeward legs. We had a lot of spots, a lot of people changing positions. So made it fun, hard to call it, and but challenging, but a whole lot of fun.
Conditions were beautiful for us. We like to have the heavier winds like that's what we had today, and there was sun, which makes for fabulous sailing.
The whole fleet in the top 5 is only separated by just a few points, so it's a very, very tight race.
Fueled by Bacardi rum, the 600 sailors are enjoying Miami's weather while relaxing after a tough yet top-class sailing day.
I mean, how can you go wrong? Miami and Bacardi.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Nice stuff. Icarus Sports does a great job, and those videos, about 3 minutes long, they're nice wrap-up videos. Terrific stuff.
Bill Wingrove says the J70s left DIYC
Davis Island Yacht Club.
And headed down there after their 4-month annual stay at the club.
Yep. Nice. So Davis Island Yacht Club, we used to race fireballs there in Tampa, Florida. Fritz Mueller, thank you, Fritz, is our latest patron. He sent a nice little contribution to the show the other day. Thank you, Fritz. Much appreciated. I have one other Bravo Zulu. In fact, I have 2 other Bravo Zulus. This is the regatta I was telling you about at the top of the show with that photo we're now using for the starting line of the wing foils. They had this regatta, the wing foil regatta, here at St. Francis. St. Francis is a very progressive club, just like our fair city, Julia.
Yeah,
very progressive.
Very progressive.
And this is it's a cool event. Have a look.
I've been racing here at San Francisco since 1991, and they've been supporting anything wind related, you know, not just sailboats. We have a great venue here, and most people are kind of hanging out over next door at the Crissy Field Beach. We'll see how it goes. Let's just pray for wind.
We'd like to see a couple riders come out maybe in 5 or 10 minutes.
Roger that.
In terms of conditions, yesterday was a very challenging classic early spring day with a lot of big holes, a lot of wind shifts, very, very gusty. We had some 12 knot conditions, we had some 28 knot conditions, we had sort of everything.
We had like 30 people and just fun racing where everyone's kind of learning what gear they need to use, learning how to deal with starts and other wings around them. It's definitely the early phases and we're figuring it out, but I think that's the fun of it.
St. Francis has always had an approach where they want to recognize what the future holds.
Here at San Francisco, there's pretty extreme conditions. I've been doing this for a while and foiling against them and with them. It's a lot of fun to race people older than me.
It's super cool that so many people are participating. No matter how good they are, they just want to participate in the race. The goal of this weekend is to go out there and have fun.
It was kind of interesting trying to figure it out with everybody going at the same time. It's probably my favorite spot, like anywhere in the world, to wing.
With an upwind leg and then a downwind kind of reaching course. For everyone here, there was a discussion. We had never done that. Very few people had even lined up going upwind like you would when you're training on a race kite. We just don't do that here. So it was a whole new thing. Everyone was learning, the race committee and the fleet.
It's an addictive sport. It gives like just enough to keep you coming back. I've fallen like 1,000 times before I get like the hint of getting the new maneuver, the hint of getting a jive.
In terms of the group, it's great to see people from not just all over the Bay Area, but we've got kids from Hawaii. We've got a ton of great support from the club that really wants to be engaged in this sport.
Race committee put together an awesome event and made it safe and ran super smoothly.
There were tons of people here that are just learning how to do the maneuvers and whatnot, and they were having fun. There's different packs around the course of different skill levels, and you know, you jump into a pack and you're going to have a battle, you know, no matter how you're feeling your skills are. It's fun.
And that was Johnny Heineken right there at the end.
Yeah.
Up Top Media, the terrific job. This guy called Felipe Huncadella, who also did that photo that I used at the top of the show.
Right.
And Paul Homchik is saying, that's great. And I'll tell you what, Paul, that is the class that should be in the Olympics. Because, you know, the same guys that won this thing, Johnny Heineken and the other guy from South America whose name escapes me, one of you on here will know.
Yeah.
And it's the same people are winning. I mean, it's just, excuse me, the same people are going to win in this class that are winning in the kites, which are more dangerous, These boats are not. These are fabulous boats.
Yeah.
Wingfoil, sure miss doing RC at the club. Love seeing Johnny, Chip Wasson, etc. Great video production, David James is saying. Yes, it is. Yes. Up Top Media or Up Top Video, thanks to them. I think that's the name of that company. Great stuff.
Yes.
Our sport is turning out. Speaking of which, and Monica D has just mentioned this in the comments, she can't wait for Foil Week. Andrew Pindar, who hopefully is going to, maybe Monica will as well, give us a report from Foil Week at Lake Garda this summer, the Northern Hemisphere summer. And they have a new foiling film festival at Malchazina in Lake Garda, the 29th through the 2nd, I guess it is, of July. Have a look at the trailer. Okay, so we've got to have coverage of that
Right.
in July between Monica and Andrew Pindar. It looks like it's going to be another fabulous event, including now a film festival, a foiling film festival. Yeah. And by the way, if you have a foiling film or you want to get involved in the festival, you can subscribe your film, submit your film now. There is the website, or there's a Twitter feed and so on. But I'm going to look, I really am going to look forward to this. I think this is cool.
Yes.
And we shall see how that pans out. But I'll bet you, Julia, it is a huge success.
Yes.
What do you think?
Absolutely. Looks like great fun.
And Lake Garda, the Sunfish Worlds, Bill Wingrove just told us the Sunfish Worlds are going to be at Lake Garda, Lago di Garda.
I might have to renew my house in Lago di Garda.
Did you have a house there for a while?
Well, friend's house.
Oh, yeah?
Mm.
We'll give them a call. Foiling, you have to, how to be on the water but not in the water. And once again, Julia, I look at that as well, and I look and say, you know what? Just look at the venues we've just looked at. Miami, San Francisco, Lago di Garda, Auckland. Why would you not run these kinds of events? Any event in our sport, that what's going on now down in the Caribbean, in places that are reliably windy and iconically
beautiful. Yes.
Why would you go to some place and risk it where they've never run a sailing event? Then they have light air in Malaga, light air in Barcelona. We had the Olympics there. I was on the jury. I was the American member of the Olympic jury there in 1992. And it was okay. It was light, but it was okay. But, excuse me, Luca Rizzotti. Yeah, we got to get Luca on here. He's the head of that. He is the man behind the foiling festival. The foiling.
Oh, is he? I didn't know.
And Andrew Pindar is a big. Remember, we had Andrew. Didn't he give us a report from a pub?
Yes.
From a cafe where they had a pizza or two and some wine one night during the last foiling week?
Yep.
Okay. Enough of that. Bravo Zulu to all those events. And, my job is to curate, to find the best films. Yeah, there's as John Emmett said, there's a great film right now from the IQ Foils. We'll try to grab that maybe for Friday. But if you want to submit your film, get involved in this, go watch it. First Foiling Film Festival will be at Lago di Garda in Italia, 29th of June through the 2nd of July. Julia?
Sir?
That brings us to the D block, the final block, and we're going to have a fairly short show today.
Amazing.
Huh? It is amazing. And we get to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Some people say, God, you think this is a short show? This is dragging on and on and on, a bloody long show.
Yeah.
Whiskey Tango Foxtrot with contributions from our Fozy today. Coffee sizes tall. This is making fun of me after I rant on about daylight savings time starting and ending. But coffee sizes tall, grande in the day after daylight saving time starts.
Uh-huh.
I'm still feeling croutonic.
Yeah, that's because you have 2 regular hours.
Well, that's true. But you know what? It was so good this morning to have an extra hour.
Oh yes, it was. It
was to
good.
Put this, because we're staying on 2000 UTC as we keep reminding you, but that means now it's 1300 Pacific, 1600 East. And thanks, Fozy Jonathan Frank, for that contribution. But look at how much gas we're saving. How much we're saving on gas as they crawl across the Sahara Desert or whatever desert.
Oh.
That the price of gas and oil came down a little bit today, but it's going to spike some more tomorrow. Thank you, Peter Taylor. What a great video Peter did for us.
Oh, yes, that was beautiful.
On Friday when we ran that one. That was really nice, Peter. And he's promised to do yet another sooner than later. And others have got some other Fozy working on things too, including Mark Reed. To convert, we had this discussion, remember last was it Tuesday or Friday, to convert from miles to feet. Remember 5 tomatoes. It sounds like 5280, the amount of feet in a mile. Cool, huh?
Mm-hmm.
To convert from kilometers to meters, you remember 1,000 because it wasn't invented by a drunk lobster. What? It's good, isn't it?
Yes.
That's from our super Fozy Clark Chapin.
He has some really good ones.
Yeah. Which brings us to the finish line. Another one of our favorite photos, and some sad news, really. And I don't know the gentleman, but so many of you do, and so many of the comments about Sam Richmond, that we've gotten many comments and links to this sad story that happened last week down in the Caribbean. Sam Richmond has passed away. Super Yacht Sam, he's called, and nice coverage by the Super Yacht community. After being injured in training on Tuesday, the 8th of March, before the Super Yacht Challenge Antigua, Sam Richmond, who was the UK GBR, has sadly passed away. Everyone involved with the regatta joins the worldwide sailing community in paying respects to a much-loved and highly respected sailor. Our thoughts and prayers are with Sam's family at this incredibly difficult time. On Sunday the 13th, a remembrance procession was observed by all competing yachts before the start of the final race of the regatta this past Sunday. And it was a fitting gesture, but obviously a very sad scene for the loss of life. Apparently he was hit. There was a rigging failure in the back end of the boat, the runner block, the runner block's arguably the most dangerous part in any boat.
Really?
Oh, you got it, because the backstay, it's the running backstay, and if the thing parts, if it breaks, it smacks you somewhere. It's not the first time people have been hurt badly or even killed by running backstay blocks. But a nice gesture by all concerned, a very sad situation. SAM, code flags were displayed by many of the yachts down there. Just a bit about Sam. He started sailing in an Optimist at age 6 and continued on to sail 420s and 49ers. His transition from sailing as a hobby to working in the industry started as a sailing instructor in Spain, followed by coaching national youth squads. In 2004, Sam started racing big boats on the Swan 48 Jacobite, which led to racing worldwide on many different racing boats, from Etchells and quarter tonners to super yachts. In 2011, Sam joined North Sails as a salesman, dealing primarily with Solent-based racing boat projects. He recently became North Sails head of sales for Europe. So, he's very capable and very well liked. And at sunset on Friday, the 11th of March, the yachting community in Antigua sounded their horns as an act of remembrance to one of the loveliest guys in sailing. And Julie, I heard that. I talked to John Emmett back and forth. We texted back and forth this morning. John knew him. John sailed with him, against him, coached him, I think, and apparently just a fabulous guy. And I've heard nothing but great comments about him.
How sad.
He leaves a beautiful young wife and 2 beautiful daughters, young daughters, behind. It's a sad day for our sport. Sam Richmond, GBR, 1984 to 2022. May he rest in peace. Okay, on that sad note, we wrap this one up. Julia, your witness.
Yes, we have so much exciting stuff going on. Don't let your friends miss it. Like, follow, and share.
And so much to thank all of our FOSI. That we love their comments. We love the support they give us via Patreon. And whether you're a FOSI or not, and people say, what's a FOSI? Well, a FOSI is somebody who's been on the show, somebody who's a regular here watching.
And it stands for Friends of Sailing Illustrated.
Exactly. Somebody who helps us out via Patreon. And if you'd like to, patreon.com/join-sailing /join/sailing illustrated. And if you'd rather send us a coffee or a check or buy us a drink at the Yacht Club bar, we just appreciate the support, because it does help us keep the lights on in here, keep the internet connected. We have a gigabit internet connection, so we can send this show. We have to pay some software charges here and there, but we do it for the love of the FOSI, for all of you, and we appreciate any support you give us, if it's $1 or $5 or $10 a month. And some of you give more than that. Daylight savings time, yes, just a note here. We did go on daylight savings time. We will continue, here in the States at least, and some of you in South America, Canada, we will continue to go year-round at 2000 UTC, as hard as that is for us in the wintertime, because I lose an hour of time to prep the show. But now we're back at 1300 Pacific, 1600 Eastern time, until we go back and go off daylight time in, tell me when, November.
Yeah,
November. It's a long period that we're on.
Yeah.
And of course, none of it makes any sense. We might as well just stick on one time or the other. Just either go daylight time year-round or go stay off it. And
I vote for daylight.
You do?
Yeah.
Why not? Guess who's coming with us on Friday. We have a terrific show on Friday. It's about the 505 class. I had a long talk with Dougal Henshaw from GBR. He is a fabulous media guy, a great longtime sailor. Everybody in the UK and beyond seems to know him. He will be our guest on Friday, and thanks to Karen Robertson for teeing Dougal up. His formal name is David, but everybody seems to know him by Dougal. And as I said, I had a lovely chat with him. He's sending us some videos and some photos, and we're going to talk specifically about the 505, the fabulous 505 class, which we were going to do today on Show 505, but because of the America's Cup and Mark Dunphy becoming available, we pushed that to Friday, and Dougal kindly agreed. Thank you, Dougal.
Paul Homachek just said the Senate passed a bill today for year-round daylight saving time.
Thank God. Now, does that mean anything? Wingrove is saying the same thing. I voted for year-round standard time, Homachek says. I don't care, Julia. I really don't care if it's year-round daylight time or year-round standard time, but let's stop the switching. It doesn't save any energy. It may be used to back in the days when there was no air conditioning. Doesn't save any energy.
Yeah.
And you can see the measurable number of car accidents and other suicides and other crotonicisms health-wise that happen.
It was also done for agricultural reasons to maximize use of daylight.
Yeah, but it makes come on, that's like the old Indian thing. I'm going to sew on, a foot onto the head of my blanket so that it's longer. take a foot off, and so it makes no difference for agriculture. It makes notwithstanding what Clark Chapin will tell us, it makes no difference for running races at our club in Michigan. You run them whenever you want. You want to run at 5 in the afternoon or 8 at night? Yeah, people have got to get out of work. Maybe they have to get out of work early, but it just is not an issue. Do what you want, but don't keep changing the time around on the idea that it's really trying to help something, which it's not. You agree?
I think it makes more sense to just leave it alone.
Thank you. God, you've come a long way.
Well.
Thanks, Carlos Aviz. Carlos is in Brazil, right? I vote for year-round standard time. We mentioned that from Homchick. A step in the correct direction. John Emmett, now on YouTube. How about kids getting to school by bus in daylight instead of dark when we don't move the clocks back? Jeffrey Mottsdorf, you can change the starting time of the schools to account for sun time. I'll take the foot on the bottom of the blanket anytime, Wingrove is saying. Morris Stevens, lovely show today. Thank you both so much. You all have a wonderful week. Stingray, wheat grows faster when the sun comes up earlier.
That's true.
Well, you grew up on an avocado farm, or what'd you grow? Avocados and
lemons and avocados.
Lemons and when you went on daylight time, was your farm more productive?
Of course.
Oh, BS. Crock. Joyce Chiarella, thank you. Thanks to all of you. Thanks to those who gave us media today, and we hope you all have a great rest of your week.
Yes. Oh gosh, we've had such a traumatic week. Anyway.
Well, I just hope we don't have any chemicals, bios. These poor people in Ukraine. I hope that thing gets ended.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely sooner than later.
One of our Fozzies, Nazimov, is running is one of the people who are running help for
Ukrainians?
For Ukrainians.
Ukrainian refugees?
Yeah.
Well, bravo to the people in Poland and other neighboring countries. It's just a tragic, horrible scene, and how we do this to other fellow human beings.
I can't understand it.
God forbid it really does break into something even more serious. Tactical nukes. Mr. Putin, I hope somebody knocks you off. But then you never know. Then maybe the Soviet Union Russia breaks into 5 or 10 different nuclear-armed countries run by strong men or strong women. And then who knows?
Yeah.
That's way above my pay grade. All I can do is keep this show on the road with my dear friend Julia. We hope to see you, Julia, on Friday.
Yes.
You're in good shape. You're back after you tune up.
We hope.
I hope. And you're going to have a birthday on Friday.
That's right.
We're gonna maybe a little celebration of your birthday on the show.
Uh-oh.
One never knows.
Uh-oh.
Thanks, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of your week. We hope if you can go sailing, you do. And sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. Ciao for now.